Welcome, everyone, to Rutgers at the voice of college football. I'm here with my fantastic co-host, Gabriel Pickup, and we're going to talk about the NFL draft, Rutgers spring practice, and the new tampering rule. So, Gabe, you got some updates for us?
Yes, indeed. And the biggest one of the week, like by far for Rutgers, is Athan Kaliakmanis going pick 223 to the Washington Commanders. That is huge. That's a Rutgers quarterback getting drafted. That has not happened since, I believe, Tom Savage. I don't know. Did Gary Nova get drafted? I don't think so. Tom Savage got drafted in the later rounds. You know, he was a career backup, but it was nice to have some representation in the NFL. But Athan Kaliakmanis drafted. That is probably the biggest or most important draft pick for Rutgers since maybe Isaiah Pacheco. And he was the only Scarlet Knight to get drafted, unfortunately. But I'm happy we got someone because I'm going to be honest, I was not expecting it. He was, in terms of quarterbacks, and were you expecting Athan to get drafted?
Well, I have to say that I was wrong, and I recall that you predicted that he would be, or at least should be, drafted. I was the one who said he would be an undrafted free agent, so you were right on this one. As he goes in the 7th round to the Washington Commanders, where he will join a quarterback room consisting of Jaden Daniels, Marcus Mariota, Sam Hartman. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest, it's going to be tough. He still has to earn a spot on the roster. I think he can, and I think he will, as the third quarterback. He's definitely not going to be QB2 going into the season, but I could see him being QB2 by the end of next season if all his cards go right. Get this. This is the first quarterback to get drafted without a combine invite since Brock Purdy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting when you look at the Commanders and the makeup of their quarterback room. Based on various news reports, the Commanders are not happy with Sam Hartman and just don't think he's that good of a player. So you're correct, I think, that he has a chance to grab that number 3 spot. Now, Marcus Mariota, when he's played for an injured Jaden Daniels, hasn't wowed anybody. So, this is an opportunity for Athan. How he responds to it, I can be pretty confident he's going to be ready to go. He's going to be prepared, and he's going to really put his best foot forward. Where does it shake out ultimately? I think he has a reasonable chance of making the roster, probably QB3 to start, and we'll see where it goes from there.
The great thing is that Marcus Mariota is the perfect challenge for him because he's enough of a veteran and a proven quarterback to where he's clearly ahead of Athan going into the year on the depth chart, but he's not an elite enough backup quarterback to be cemented over him. And if Athan can prove himself, he will get QB2. Now, will he ever have a shot at QB1 on the Commanders? I don't think so. And I think that most Commanders fans don't think so. I think even the diehard Rutgers fans looking at this would say there's no way that he will ever be quarterback 1 over Jaden Daniels. Now, of course, if you hear that, Athan, keep working. But I think that the only way he would be quarterback 1 is if Jaden Daniels declines rather than Athan being that good. It will be, unfortunately, if Jaden Daniels is playing poor enough to where fans are calling for his benching, but he's still too young, and he just took them to the freaking championship game 2 years ago. Last year, he was injured most of the year. I don't see it. But, yeah, I mean, I just one step at a time, I'm hoping he makes the team. That's the first step. And he wasn't the only one to get a deal or at least get a phone call. We had 5 Rutgers Scarlet Knights in total receiving phone calls. DT Sheffield with the Jets, Eric O'Neill with the Lions, Cam Miller with the Panthers, Kenny Fletcher with the Bucks. No deals for Gus Zelinskas, Jet Elad, Bradley Weaver yet. Which players do you think make any rosters, if any at all?
Well, first, I just want to briefly go back to Athan. And Jason O is here. It is true, Jason, that Northern Virginia, D.C. is a nice place, but the traffic is horrific, and I would never want to be leaving work at around 6 p.m. in that area of the country. Athan, I think, has some things to work on. Number one, I think what they're going to want to see is can he fit the ball into tight windows with his arm strength? How does he react when the play breaks down? Because he's going to face really fast defenses, more complex schemes. When the play breaks down, is he going to be making good decisions? How is he going to perform under duress? And I think it's going to be interesting to see. And we will know, I think, fairly quickly where he stands. As far as the other players go, I think that DT Sheffield has a very good chance of making the Jets roster because of his speed, and I think that could be an asset for the Jets. I don't see anybody else making the roster. Maybe Eric O'Neill, but I would go on the side of DT Sheffield being one.
I agree about DT. I think that he certainly can make the roster as the last wide receiver because of his speed and because the Jets, while they have a deep roster on wide receivers in terms of varying talent, it's not very deep in terms of talent level. It's more at a level where DT can reach because of his natural abilities. So for DT, he certainly can, and I predict that he will make the roster as the last wide receiver. If he doesn't, I wouldn't be too surprised just because he had trouble being, he wasn't wide receiver 1 or 2 last year. And, shout out to KJ Duff, shout out to Ian Strong. They're both tremendous talents, some of the best in college football, but they're also not NFL talents just yet. Now, KJ Duff, if he came in, obviously, I think he would have a great career. Ian Strong could cement himself, but they're not there just yet. So Gus Sawinskis is not at a camp right now. He got the phone call to the old Baltimore team and the new Baltimore team in the Colts and the Ravens. So that'll be interesting to see. Pivoting back to Athan, he was taken in the draft before Nussmeier, and before the Heisman runner-up Diego Pavia, who did not get drafted. So that's huge. I mean, that's the reason why I didn't think he would get drafted is because of the names ahead of him. But it looks like the scouts are finally waking up. And even though he didn't get a combine invite, I think this is proof that he certainly should have. And as I say that, we get our co-host Donovan Gibbs in the studio. Hello.
How y'all doing? It's been a great weekend for Rutgers.
Yes,
phenomenal weekend.
We were just talking about Athan Kaliakmanis, and I have to object to choosing Kaliakmanis over Garrett Nussmeier. Yes, Nussmeier played remarkably poorly last year, but when it comes to the tangibles and the intangibles, I think he's got a better profile. But having said that, he's not that much better than Athan, where the pick was so unbelievably surprising. But again, my concerns for Athan are how is he going to adapt to the speed and the complexity of NFL defenses, particularly when the play breaks down, and can he fit the ball into tight windows against NFL corners and safeties? I'm skeptical at this point, but I'm hopeful because I think he's a great teammate, a great person, and I wish him the best.
Yeah,
he's going to be in a good position.
If there's one person who's been proven to put in work to elevate his game, it's Athan. That's why he got drafted. He put in work. He went to a gazillion meetings. He didn't get the invite to the combine, which Donovan, I was saying earlier, he is the first quarterback to get drafted without the invite since Brock Purdy himself. So I think that's proof that you don't need an invite to the combine to have a successful career. And I think Athan has the chance. And I was saying that next year, his ceiling is solidified QB2. He's not going to be going into the year backing up Jaden Daniels over Marcus Mariota. God bless your soul.
Thank you.
I was saying Marcus Mariota is at the level where he's the perfect challenge because he's a good enough veteran to where he comes into camp over Athan, but he's not elite enough of a backup to where no matter what happens, he's over Athan. Athan can work hard enough to be QB2. So that's my stance on that.
But here's the problem. Mobility.
Oh yeah, I warned my Commanders friends that he kind of runs like a duck a little bit, but
Donovan, it's all yours.
I will say for Athan Kaliakmanis, he got drafted into a good organization currently. They turned a new leaf. These aren't the same Washington Commanders that we saw previously with the Washington football team, and then before that, the Washington redacted. You know what I mean by that.
Hold on. They are the Washington Redskins. That is the one. That is the name of the team.
Adam said it, not me.
I don't know where this Commanders things comes from, but when I grew up, it was the Washington Redskins with Joe Theismann at quarterback, John Riggins at running back. They are the Redskins. I don't see what the problem is. Okay, so from now
You're
on,
not a Native American though.
I don't think that the Native American community is probably focused on or particularly concerned about the name of a football team.
I guess it's not for us to say, but
I have the utmost respect for our Native American friends, and certainly would never want to do anything that causes them to, be offended in any way. But
I know you're good.
Enough is enough. It's the Redskins, I say. What do you say, Donovan?
I agree with whatever the social norm is for this type of conversation.
It's not pressing enough.
Total
to be completely honest, like I grew up during that era as well. I still remember when it was Sean Taylor and LaRon Landry leading those boys in the secondary. RIP Big 20 over there, Sean Taylor. And yeah, this team has gone through a bunch of organizational shifts. Dan Snyder is no longer the owner. The previous most cheapest man in sports is finally gone. They got a guy that has been good with offenses in Dan Quinn. And this offensive system is going to have a QB as a veteran in Marcus Mariota, a guy that had similar issues that you say Athan currently has, making that translation to the NFL, which is reading defenses and catching up to that game speed. Marcus Mariota in college didn't really have, per se, the same type of career as Athan Kaliakmanis because Mariota won a Heisman, but outside of his athleticism was the only thing that was able to keep him afloat compared to when it came to the mechanicals of arm strength and timing. Yeah. He's going to have somebody in Marcus Mariota to put under his wing, and especially during, I would say, rookie minicamp when he comes in middle of May, and then when official mini camp starts in June. I gotta look at the Commanders' schedule regarding that, but I know a lot of these teams start their mini camps in early June. He's going to be able to be in a spot where he gets to learn, and for Kaliakmanis, he works well with a lot of learning. We saw it in the jump from 2024 to 2025. Once he made that jump to a new team and was able to learn that offense and be able to understand what he's able to do against certain coverages, what he's able to do on certain throws, on how certain concepts have to look, he's going to be able to grow as an athlete and grow as a player. I'm not as scared about the mobility because he ran a 4.75 40, which isn't slow. I'm sorry to say this. I know we got a lot of edge rushers out there running 4.4s or running 4.5s. One of them is going to be on his team in Sonny Styles, which I thought was a phenomenal pickup for the Commanders. And he's going to be able to move. He still is mobile. Rutgers was running certain plays where it came to him being the main guy in option. If he's able to run option in college, he should be able to move around the pocket and potentially get away from defenders if a play breaks down.
I'm not worried about his speed. I'm more worried about his shiftiness within the pocket when he feels pressure. To me, it seems like he can't avoid a sack as well and as he should be able to, and that's probably his biggest weakness in his game. Adam, you're a Giants fan, right?
Yes, I love the Giants.
All right, regular season, no implications. It's like, either you're both not going to make the playoffs, or you're both in the playoffs with the same seeding. So just from a pure fan basis, you know where I'm going with this. Let's say that somehow Athan is subbed in and they're down 7 to your Giants in the final 2 minutes. Who are you rooting for? Are you rooting for Athan to get pancaked, or are you rooting for him to get a touchdown?
I'm rooting for the Giants, and I'm rooting for Athan to perform well, but ultimately not to score in the final 2 minutes. I think I agree with you about his shiftiness in the pocket. I think he runs a little bit awkward when he takes off. I just don't think he has the mobility. But yeah, I think he has a problem with when the play breaks down against complex and fast defenses. He'll have a problem. But Mariota has those problems too, like Donovan said. So I think behind Jaden Daniels, there might be a competition for number 2 by the end of the season. But it's all going to depend on how Athan evolves and develops as a quarterback. But like I said, he's going to show up and he's going to bring his best. So, I do wish him the best, but I remain a little bit skeptical that he can ultimately be a viable starter. Maybe he can be a career backup, but that's the ceiling I see.
For Athan is right now, just like every other person that got drafted, especially other Rutgers players that got signed for UDFA. Shout out Eric O'Neal going to the Lions. Shout out Kenny Fletcher. Shout out DT Sheffield. It's just about getting to that second contract. And for Athan, I can see him potentially having a career as an NFL journeyman. A guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick, a guy like Josh McCown. These are
Ryan
guys
Fitzpatrick. That's a good shout out.
These are guys that came into the league from smaller schools and just needed an opportunity to show what they're able to do. And yeah, they went from team to team, but still, if you look at their career, they were in the NFL for 10 plus years. They were in the NFL. Josh McCown's case, he was in the NFL for over 8 years. The average duration of an NFL career is 3 years. If Athan's able to get past the 3 years, that's successful, especially for a guy that came to Rutgers, and a lot of people thought his career was over once he transferred out of Minnesota.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. They thought he failed under PJ Fleck. He must be a failure of a player. And he came to the Big Ten from another Big Ten team and proved that maybe PJ Fleck was a little bit of the issue. I mean, if we can utilize him in the ways that we did and get him to an NFL draft pick, we can sell these quarterbacks to come to Rutgers.
Well, when I think of Athan, I think of ever hear of Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, of course. We're talking about the Commanders here.
Could he be the next equivalent to Kirk Cousins? What do you think?
I could potentially, when it comes to as a player or as a person that just makes
I could see him evolving into
a load of money.
Well, I could see him evolving into a Kirk Cousins type of quarterback. Okay. And as far as Diego Pavia goes, part of the blame belongs on Vanderbilt. Now, we know Diego Pavia acted like a child after the Heisman ceremony.
Diego Pavia wasn't going to make the NFL outside of a rookie camp invite. This man was 5'7". The fact that Kyler Murray even got drafted at 5'10".
And he got drafted 1. That's why I thought that he would get drafted, because we've had 2 quarterbacks in the past 10 years or however long since Kyler's been drafted, because it's been Kyler and Bryce Young that have been drafted smaller than me.
Yeah, and Jason, no, you're right. Kirk Cousins has made millions and he's not even that good. But here's the problem. I blame Vanderbilt. If you went to a Vanderbilt game in Nashville, Tennessee, you would see Diego Pavia on the roster listed as 6 foot. Then they find out.
No, they lie on those. They lie on
those.
Every school lies on those.
Yeah, but they lied by a lot. Then they find out he's like 4'9", and that's why he wasn't going to get drafted, because his size and also his game. I don't think he's ever played well in a structured system. He was more like, good when the play broke down, ran around.
He was more of a backyard football type of guy, which works in college. It doesn't work as much in the NFL. The only person that I've seen make it work has been Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and arguably for last year and the year before that during his rookie year, Caleb Williams. Those were the only 3 guys I can think of that were able to make their bread and butter when a play breaks down. And currently right now, with how the Bears are looking, head coach, their head coach doesn't want Caleb Williams to be running willy-nilly in the back row like that anyway, because he just wants him to stay healthy. That type of play style does not survive as long in the NFL, and that's why Lamar Jackson has become more of a passer. That's why Patrick Mahomes, despite him being mobile, he does not take as many carries. And the reason going into last season, we were all surprised, was that he was Kansas City's leading rusher for a current stretches. So for Diego Pavia, he wasn't going to make it. I'm surprised that the Baltimore Ravens even threw him a camp invite. They just want to see what he can do and if he can stay in this system, because they do produce a lot of dual threat guys. Lamar Jackson is one of them. Tyler Huntley is another one of them. And Diego Pavia is going to potentially be in that role. Cooper Rush is no longer on this team. And the thing is, for Diego Pavia, that's the saving grace. We've seen guys like this. We've seen Pat White during his time with West Virginia in 2007. We've seen guys such as Braxton Miller, Terrell Pryor during their time at Ohio State being guys that can just run around and make magic on the football field and not have strong NFL careers. That's where NIL kicks in. Diego Pavia is walking away potentially from his college career already a millionaire.
Yeah.
Great point.
And also, yeah, I mean, I just think that Athan definitely deserved to be drafted. Donovan sent a clip over to our chat last night where ESPN kind of spent most of the selection reaction just talking about why wasn't it Garrett Nussmeier, which to me is unfair. And Adam, I know you think Nussmeier is a better talent, and he had the worst year, but the better college career, sure. But to me, Nussmeier, his injury history is what cost him here, not necessarily that he's just a lost cause of a quarterback. But I think it's ultimately unfair to just talk about why. That's why I didn't like the Shedeur Sanders coverage last year all that much, because it ruins the coverage for Jackson Dart. It ruined the coverage for Dylan Gabriel, for several.
It absolutely shredded Dylan Gabriel's career, because Dylan Gabriel came into the same franchise as the villain and as Nobody Wants You. And I don't want to just piggyback off of you. I'm sorry for taking the mic here.
No, you're good. Jalen Milroe, same thing.
But what Mel Kiper did is something that we've seen him do countless times over the last 20 years of him covering the draft, especially on ESPN, and it's draining. These guys, this is the best time of these players' lives, and a lot of these guys have come from smaller schools in high school and had to work their way up. Even Kaliakmanis was one of those people that had to work his way up to get to this moment. I understand why you would say, hey, why did he get drafted over Garrett Nussmeier? He plays in the SEC. I get that. Save that type of talk when Nussmeier gets his name called in the 7th round, because he only got picked a couple of picks after in the 7th.
Also, there's usually a whole segment about what surprised you the most in the NFL draft. Say it then.
Save it during the best availables. He gets to talk about it every 5 minutes. And I know
coming back from commercial.
I know that typically for Mel Kiper, that's what he does. That's been his thing. And that's why a lot of people don't like the broadcast on ESPN, because the ESPN broadcast typically takes it away from honoring these guys instead of just making these guys look like sob stories and try to just compare worth at the worst time to do so. If you want to compare each other, let's do that before the draft. During those 3 days, let's focus on congrats to these guys for making it to the best league in the world.
Yes, but if you want to, sorry, Adam, I'm just saying this real quick. If you want to compare him, maybe you should invite the man to a combine where it's literally meant to compare people.
Nussmeier didn't do the combine.
I'm saying Athan, though.
Yeah, I know, but it's hard that Athan has done everything by the book so far, and just because he played, the thing is, he plays in the Big Ten. This isn't a guy that's playing in a MAC school or playing FCS. I didn't see him talk about this when Cole Payton got selected in the 5th.
Bingo, yeah. Hey, by the way, that's a very storybook draft pick by the Eagles, because that's Carson Wentz's alma mater too.
Well, it's not that big of a deal that Athan went over Nussmeier, particularly given Nussmeier's play last year. So I don't think why it's a big deal. But Donovan, to your point about how the media should, be congratulating these kids. Well, that's not going to get viewers. And a lot of what they do is entertainment.
I know, unfortunately. It's 70% entertainment, 30% information.
You know what's entertainment, though? Talk about the kids, what he does for fun, if it's like hunting bears or some shit, or if he has like a dog.
Especially during the 7th round, because I was watching it on the NFL Network, they were breaking down a lot of these guys' extracurricular. One of these people won speed. They did rollerblading, or I think it was speed skating. They did speed skating growing up. Another one of them was a quarterback I saw in the 7th round get drafted. And they brought up the time during COVID where he used to push cars and able to work out. I just remember this era because if you're an athlete that was in the class of 2020 or 2021, you have a workout video of you pushing a car during COVID.
Do some actual feature journalism.
Speaking of journalism and the media, I think viewers need to know that Trevor Bauer has now joined the Long Island Ducks. And last week, he did a press conference upon his arrival in Long Island. And who was sitting in the front row and asked the best question of the press conference? That would be Donovan Gibbs.
Thank you, guys.
That was an outstanding.
I appreciate it. There was other great publications there when I was there for Long Island Ducks Media Day. I know the season has just recently started, and Trevor Bauer recently this week threw a no-hitter in his second start.
Wow.
And
Okay.
He did?
kudos to him. Yeah, kudos to him for doing that.
That's huge.
And New York Post was there, News 12 was there. I was there on behalf of my school at Long Island University, and it was a really great experience.
And I
was
tell you
surprised
this.
to be in the video. I was surprised.
If you
You did.
watch-
You're the first one to bring it up to me.
I was watching the video, and then all of a sudden I see Donovan. Not only did he ask the best question of the press conference, but if you watch Bauer's response closely, you almost brought him to tears. When he looked at, or maybe it wasn't your question or the question after, when he kind of turned away and said, maybe the baseball gods will,
No, that was during it. That was the entire.
Yeah. He got a little bit emotional, and he tried to look away for a second. And I got to give credit to him because, those allegations against him turned out to be false, and he showed resilience, and I wish him the best. And you did a great job, Donovan. So you
got the quote out of him.
Great example of what
I saw that. I saw that quote being used in multiple News 12 packages. I saw it being used for New York Post. It's cool to be part of those things, and it just know that my career is still young. I still have a lot of those to go.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a good start.
Part of history, my friend.
Gabe, you were at this conference,
huh?
But I do want to get back into a lot of these Rutgers signees, especially UDFAs. I was able to talk to Eric O'Neill yesterday after he got picked up by the Lions. Out of all the guys that I think are going to be able to get to a roster, I truly believe it's going to be Eric at that position alone. Because for Cam Miller, he got signed by the Panthers. The Panthers did draft heavy and secondary throughout this draft, which he arguably has the toughest path to get on a roster. Eric O'Neill's in a spot with Detroit that he has the pass rush moves. Detroit needs pass rushers because primarily their main guy has been Aiden Hutchinson. It has been primarily been Aiden Hutchinson. There's been years where they try to bring in Sedarius Smith, like 2024 when they tried to do that with Aiden Hutchinson's injury. And throughout the last couple of years outside of Hutchinson, there has not been as much production on that defensive line. This will bring Eric O'Neill back to the opportunity of where he was during his time on Long Island. Get after the quarterback. Honestly, at Rutgers, his role was very, very expanded, and that might have that's why we might have saw the dip in production, because under the defensive structure that he was at in James Madison, he was good enough to potentially be a day 2, day 3 option just off of that tape alone.
Yeah. I think that they should give Bradley Weaver a shot too. Why not? I mean, they're very thin, like you said.
Eric O'Neill, but hold on. Eric O'Neill, how effective was he against a Big Ten competition this year?
Well, I think Donovan's saying that I think he was rushed into the role so quickly. He was cemented as a top 100 prospect going into the year, and he was the game plan every single week. And in the NFL, he won't be that immediately. Maybe if he has a good enough career.
And the Detroit Lions are the perfect fit for him. But Gabe, I have a question for you when it comes to the quarterback position. Why didn't the Jets consider drafting Athan?
I mean, they did. They brought him in for a meeting.
I thought he would have been a good fit for the Jets.
Well, we drafted Cade Klubnik like early day 3. He was the first quarterback taken.
That felt like a reach. I talked about it on the radio just earlier today, and
hey, apparently he woke up wanting to be a Jet, which I call BS on, but I'll take it.
I just don't understand that move, and I know it's not a primarily Rutgers thing, but I'm not gonna take too long on it. The Jets currently right now, they're focused on 2027 when it comes around QB class. The plan is you go in, try to get Arch Manning. If you leave with Julian Sand, you're a happy camper still.
I like how we handled. I love how we handled the second 2 picks on day 1. David Bailey's a wait and see, but Kenyon
Sadiq and Omar Cooper are going to be amazing with a QB that can.
You know what surprised me though? I love Omar Cooper, and I'm happy that
Cooper's awesome.
Omar Cooper's taken before Elijah Surratt surprised me.
I'm happy Surratt fell to the 4th to Baltimore. I think it comes to
he was your guy.
When it comes to a lot of the mid-round receivers, because this was my first time being able to cover the draft through like this type of process. Elijah Surratt is one of those guys that are going to be able to be a future guy that you can see being a number 1. He has the nickname Waffle House for a reason. He has been always open. He led the entire FBS in touchdowns last year with 15. He was that guy during the college football playoffs and especially during the Big Ten championship to arise to very big moments. He was the person that caught the game-winning touchdown in the Big Ten championship on a one-on-one man-beating route slot fade. He can play in the slot. He can play on the outside. And for Baltimore, they're thinking about having him as a big slot option, which I like. Baltimore they basically drafted an NBA roster. Nobody under 6'3".
Yeah.
Nobody under 6'2" outside of one corner.
What do you guys think about Kenny Fletcher's chance in Tampa? I think that he probably won't make it, but I think that I said it over the course of our show heading into draft that I don't think Kenny Fletcher's going to get drafted, but he low-key is an NFL type of player. And I think that he has a chance, and it would make sense.
He's shown on tape that he can block. And from my biggest takeaway from this entire draft is that teams want blocking tight ends. The receiving hybrid tight ends that we see from like Isaiah Likely or in the first round of Kenyon Sadiq. There was a ton of those guys in this draft class, and a lot of them did not go until the 6th round. The first 5 rounds were primarily blocking tight ends. Matthew Hebner, Nate Borkager was the second tight end off the board, and he's primarily known for his blocking. Kenny Fletcher is going to fit that mold of a guy that can catch the ball still, but he's going to be able to provide you production in the run blocking game because a lot of these teams now are running 12 personnel, and they need 2 tight ends that are able to block.
You know what my comp for him is? Grant Calcaterra on the Eagles.
And he's been successful throughout the last 2 years, especially 2024. He was their blocking tight end.
And he's made some good catches here and there too. So very similar to Kenny in my opinion. Adam,
I don't know. I'm not too optimistic, but it depends on the fit with the team, and it depends on where he is right now in his development. And if they need a blocking tight end, he may have a shot. But speaking of Surratt, those receivers for Indiana and Omar Cooper, a reasonable question could be asked: which catch was better in the college football season as best catch of the year? Duff's against Penn State or Cooper's against Penn State?
Those are the 2 best, in my opinion, that I've seen.
At least that they were both against Penn State is absolutely funny.
True. I never realized that. Yeah.
I would say
probably Cooper.
I would say Duff was harder, but I would say Cooper's was more impactful because if Cooper doesn't catch that ball, that's a team in Indiana that gets upset by Penn State away from home in Happy Valley, and then that might have hurt their chances of not only making it to the Big Ten championship, but that might have hurt their chances of making it to the college football playoffs in general. Because during that stretch of time, this was before the Oregon game.
Yeah.
So a lot of teams were still thinking, okay, is Indiana really a legit team under Kirk Cignetti? Because they made it to the playoffs, got bounced in the first round against Notre Dame last year, and they're starting off this year on a good little win streak. They did come out a little bit shaky the first game against Old Dominion, and they were building off of that. This is their first test of this season, and they were able to pass it just primarily due to Omar Cooper Jr.
Yeah, and Indiana was an amazing team. They didn't do anything fancy, but they were so disciplined and executed so perfectly. But speaking of the NFL,
I see.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of the draft and Indiana, what do you think is going to become of Fernando Mendoza in the NFL?
He's going to wait a few years. I think he's going to wait this season. Clint Kubiak has said the start off the year is going to be Kirk Cousins, and I like that move. Don't let Fernando Mendoza die just yet. He is the perfect thing that Las Vegas needs as a football team. He's a devout Christian, doesn't use social media. The only social media he used during the season this year was LinkedIn. He stays out the press. He's only a good PR type of guy. Keep him safe and let him perform because he already has the mental to work in Las Vegas. Because the thing is, when it comes to playing in certain cities, it brings certain influences. And typically when players go to play in Las Vegas, we saw this with Jason Everett. We saw this as well with Henry Ruggs. Those influences can take over and distract you from why you're here. Fernando Mendoza, yeah.
I forgot about Damon Arnett. Wow, what a pull! First round pick, that guy.
A lot of these guys are going to be put in environments that can be heavily enticing to make you do the wrong thing. And Fernando Mendoza is not even excited by that. He's the perfect QB, just mentality wise. He just needs to grow and be able to learn how to work on NFL speed. He has the same. I think he has more of that issue than Athan does, to be completely honest. Because the thing is, at least Athan had to move around in the pocket. Mendoza was playing with one of the best offensive lines in football. It's going to be him and Jeremiah Love are going to experience a drastic shift from what they were able to do in college to compare what they're going to do in the NFL, because they're going to be behind two offensive lines that were at the bottom of the league the last 3 years.
I agree with that. Very well said.
Yeah, it surprises me, speaking of Fernando Mendoza's O-line, that Pat Coogan was a round 7 guy.
There was a lot of this class was very interior offensive line heavy, and
he was all Big Ten.
There's a lot of guys that, especially at center, still got picked up at UDFAs that will be really good.
I mean, he was
Nick Hawkins.
He was all Big Ten this year. I think all Big Ten first.
Logan Jones, who was the Remington winner, he didn't go until, if I'm correct, the middle of the second. He didn't go to he went in the third. The first center off the board was Jake Slaughter in the second. And a lot of centers did not go until later rounds.
Yeah, I think Parker Brailsford got drafted from Bama. What was the team?
Parker Brailsford wasn't on a lot of people's boards. He wasn't. When it came to Parker Brailsford, a lot of people were thinking Brian Parker. Like, that was the primary guy, especially on the interior, that a lot of people were looking at, especially going into the combine, was Brian Parker, because he, in high school, he was a center throughout the entire pre-draft process, was surrounding him going back to center. And he has a lot of those, I would say, abilities and just overall skill set that can translate back to center. So Parker's Brailsford getting picked up was a surprise to a lot of people as well.
Well, and when you talk about how Mendoza had such a good offensive line, Jeremiah Love, that begs the question of what about Ty Simpson, the number 12 pick, who had a really bad offensive line at Alabama?
Rams fans can hate me for this. I think that moves a reach. I would rather.
Rams fan will disagree with you.
Why waste that first round pick that you got basically fleecing the Atlanta Falcons? You fleeced them last year to get that pick because they moved up to get James Pierce because they wanted to get him really badly. And we see that he has character issues despite the 10-sack season that he produced in his rookie year. He has character issues. We don't know how long that production is going to stay on the field, because can he even get to play on the field is the true question. The Rams had a top 15 pick, the first time they're going to have a top 15 pick in a while, because this team is still really good on all aspects. And I thought they were going to add to the wealth. I thought they would potentially might add another receiver, because we seen right now, yes, Devontae Adams is still a arguably top 20 wide receiver, but he's getting into the latter half in his career. So I thought they were either going to go wide receiver. I thought potentially them moving back and getting more picks in this draft and move out of the top 15, potentially get a linebacker. They ended up getting a linebacker in later rounds, but the primary needs that the Rams had was add another guy to catch the ball outside of Puka Nacua, because we saw, especially during the year when Puka went down, their offense did look a little bit shaky before they were able to pick up Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I think that maybe Mekhi Lemon scared them a little bit with his interviews. And honestly, as a Birds enjoyer, he scares me too. I don't know what's up with him.
I wouldn't even say just Mekhi Lemon. I know a lot of people were screaming, go for Mekhi Lemon, because everybody wants that style of receiver, but they already have a Y. That they don't need another Y receiver. If anything, I thought they were going to go after somebody that might be a bigger body. I thought they were going to either go after either bigger body and Denzel Boston, or a guy that can play in the slot in Casey Concepcion.
Casey was a good pick at 26.
That's where I thought they were going to move, because I heard the potential of him getting drafted to San Francisco. San Francisco decides to surprise everybody and go for wide receiver 15 off the board and Deshaun Stribling, and make him the first wide receiver selected in the second round, which
that was that the Miss State guy? Was that the Miss State guy?
Yeah, Ole Miss guy.
Oh, Ole Miss, wrong Miss. Yeah, so it's funny we were talking about Ty Simpson. Just got a report that Los Angeles wanted to trade back a few spots before drafting Ty Simpson, and I think they could have gotten him at like 20. So yeah, I 100% agree.
They could have, but they
the
don't
only team that might have went after him was Pittsburgh in my eyes, because they were going to try to go for a QB no matter what, and they still ended up doing that with Drew Aller. I just don't understand going after quarterback in this class, because there's a huge gap from Fernando Mendoza than the field.
I mean, right now it appears that way.
Because outside of Fernando Mendoza in this class, if you put anybody else in the 27 class, they're not getting picked up till day 3. I say that honestly.
I don't think there's a massive gap between Mendoza and Simpson. I think Mendoza is the better quarterback right now, but I think Ty Simpson is extremely tough. And I think that he's got a great arm. He's extremely accurate when he has time, and he's fairly mobile. And I think that the Rams were probably thinking Stafford is going to be there for maybe a year or two more. And then who do you have after that? You got Stetson Bennett. And
I think that the whole point is, while Matthew Stafford is still at his
best, add one more piece, because the thing is, this team was 7 minutes away from potentially reaching the Super Bowl. That NFC championship game was down to the wire.
Right, but what if Stafford gets hurt? Who do you have?
Well, didn't Nick Saban say you don't prepare for fucked?
If you're going through that mindset, then I would say you can still get a QB in the third from round 3 and beyond. I don't think you had to go first round for Ty Simpson.
Yeah,
I don't think you wanted somebody to be a backup QB. You had that option in everybody else. You could have saw that in Carson Beck. You could have saw that in Drew Aller. You could have saw that in Cole Payton. You could have saw that in Taylor Green. And to be honest, if they wanted to go after somebody, I would have said, if you want to work with a project QB that can still have a lot of arm strength and is still athletically gifted, why not go after Taylor Green? He went in the 5th to the Cleveland Browns.
Well, I don't think they're just going after a backup. I think they're going after their quarterback of the future, because Stafford is 38 years old.
I just don't see the quarterback of the future being in this class outside of Mendoza. And I agree with you in regards to Ty Simpson, but Ty Simpson, there was a lot of bad on his tape just as much as there was good.
And Alabama fans are not really big fans of his.
And the class next year just looks so much better at QB, because I already mentioned Arch Manning, Dante Moore, and Julian Sand. I still haven't mentioned Sam Levitt. I still haven't mentioned Josh Hoover. I still haven't mentioned Trinidad Chambers, a guy that originally was supposed to be in this draft, but was able to get an extra year of eligibility. And if he was in this draft, he would have got picked up in the second round. A lot of teams won in Chambliss.
I don't understand.
You could have gotten your QB in the future in 2027, hands down. The thing is, I'm not as worried about Matthew Stafford's clock right now, because he doesn't take a lot of hits. He has one of the better offensive lines in the league, and he has one of the better running games in the league. He barely has to have the ball in his hand that much, and he showed in the playoffs he's still that player from 2011, being able to get the ball to anywhere he wants, anywhere he pleases. It doesn't matter if it's early in the game, doesn't matter if it's in late game. He was able to make 2 amazing late game drives in the first round of the playoffs in the wild card against Carolina. He did it again in the divisional round, and he had the opportunity to do it once again in the NFC Championship game. He's still that player. He won MVP at age 38. He still has a couple of more years to go. He hasn't really experienced as much of a dangerous injury that I would say for the likes of Aaron Rodgers, a guy that was in the same type of level as Matthew Stafford as, he could go until he's 40. He got injured, and he's not the same player again. Matthew Stafford has not gotten there yet.
Yeah, I think
he has some back issues, but nothing extremely serious.
That's a fair point. I didn't get the Drew Aller pick. To me, Aller was the interceptions he threw at critical times. I saw a quarterback. Yeah, he had a great arm. He's got all the measurables, but I don't think he's a very good QB. So that pick surprised me.
He'll be a fringe starter. That's what he'll be. He'll be
he's going to provide. He's going to provide competition to Will Howard. It's just the thing is, Pittsburgh wanted to go into this draft leaving saying, okay, Will Howard is not going to be my QB1. And still, Will Howard is the QB1. Aaron Rodgers has had the entire. He has Mike McCarthy on block. He blocked his number. I think he blocked his number every single time Mike McCarthy tries to send him a text. It goes straight to green, and he has an iPhone. That's not supposed to work like that.
Yeah, I think. Look, this has all been great conversation. I think that. Yeah, I'm very interested about Athan. I think that Athan is going to make his. He's going to make the roster. I just refuse to believe that his work ethic, the fact that he was the only one taking notes at John Gruden's camp, I believe 100% he's making a roster. Whether it's the Commanders or someone else, I think it's the Commanders. And I think that DT will make the roster as the last New York Jet receiver, and I think that Kenny Fletcher has a chance. Eric O'Neill, he maybe can, maybe can't. I'm not as high on him as a prospect, so he'll have to prove me wrong. And Cam Miller, I unfortunately don't see it happening. And so that's what I got for who does and doesn't. What about you guys?
I'm just going to list you the names of people that were ahead of Athan on this class, especially at the prospect list. I'm looking at the NFL website right now. Joe Fadnow. Yeah. He was a UDFA. Jalen Daniels, UDFA. Luke Altmaier, I don't think he got picked up yet. Haynes King, UDFA. Sawyer Robertson, UDFA. Diego Pavia, minicamp invite. He was ranked higher. He was ranked higher than Athan Kaliakmanis. He has a better athlete score than him.
I think that it feels good to be right about Athan because, look, we've all had our ups and downs in terms of supporting him, but I think that I got to give myself the pat on the back for how much I've been riding this man since it was the offseason 2025. I've been saying this guy has the NFL talent. He's just got to work for it. And he has.
Talent speaks. You will. When my coaches said this to me the best, especially in high school, if you ball, you will get the call, no matter where you play at.
Bingo.
Tyler Duggar was a draft pick, and he played at a D2 school. And he currently has a career and just recently signed with the Bengals.
Yeah, Kyle Duggar.
We have guys. Cole Payton was one of the first QBs off the board. I think he was the third. Oh, no, yeah. He was the fourth QB off the board. And he came from an FCS school in North Dakota.
Well,
he can play wherever, and it doesn't matter the name of the school or the type of athlete that you are. If you're really good at what you're doing, a team's going to want you. And we saw that again with how the Commanders, because the Commanders could have went for Nussmeier. They're the same prototype of player that quarterbacks or QB coaches want. They want a guy that's tall, can see over the pocket, has a good arm, and is able to make the right decisions. We saw that out of both of them.
You got to look beyond the physical attributes. Work ethic, preparation, personality, and those intangibles really make a difference. And you were right about Athan, and I'm happy for Athan. But however, my optimism is a bit tempered. I'm a bit cautious because I think that I don't see him at this point developing into an NFL starter. As far as having a journeyman type career, I'm not even sold on that either. And it's not because I want to be critical of him. It's just that what I saw from him was a lot of good things, but I'm not sure that they would translate into the NFL. And I think he's going to struggle against fast defenses that have complex schemes. And with his lack of mobility, I just don't see it happening right now. I was wrong once, right? I can be wrong.
I was gonna say, just remember we had the same conversation about Kyle Monungai.
Well,
yes, we did, and I was wrong.
Yeah, Kyle Monungai looks like one of the best pickups in Ben Johnson's career right now. He basically has a chance to remake Sonic and Knuckles in the same division.
Well, look at it this way: when you drafting someone in the NFL draft is kind of like hiring someone to join your company. You think you know them, but you don't really know them until they start performing. And so this is a good indication, but there's a lot that remains to be seen. And I think we can all agree that we're hopeful that he does well.
Yeah. So NFL roster, who y'all got?
For when it comes to the players that got put onto a roster and who's going to make it?
Yes.
I see Athan because he got drafted, and typically guys that get drafted don't really get cut that often. Especially they make it to the preseason. guys that are going to make it to the preseason, I know it's going to be Athan Autolock because he already got invited to rookie mini camp. Most likely going to be there for the OTAs because he is a guy that doesn't like to duck OTAs. I get that from Athan Kaliakmanis a lot. And I see Eric O'Neal. Like, I truly believe that for what he can bring to the table for Detroit and the type of player that he is, he's going to be loved in that room. I know Dan Campbell is going to be a guy that can keep a guy. He's going to learn about him. A lot of the times when UDFAs happen, it's because people are on that team, especially in the position rooms, are all throwing names to the head coach and to the GM saying, hey, I think this guy should get a shot, or hey, this guy should get a shot. Dan Campbell might not know his name now, but he's going to know who he is by the end of rookie minicamp. I know that for a fact. I feel like, especially going into training camp into the summer, that's where he's going to be able to make his name known. And like I said on my story, Aiden Hutchinson got himself a running mate. He's been working for that number 2 guy. He hasn't had that number 2 guy since he got into the league. And
that's huge praise.
I see it.
I kind of agree with Jason. I don't know if he makes the team this year, but I think that he will be on an NFL roster at some point.
And if any of these guys don't make it, the UFL right there too. And I know they will all ball out in UFL.
CFL is trying to make Diego Pavia their new Johnny Manziel.
I'm confident that Athan and DT Sheffield will make a roster. I am not confident that anybody else will. Of those that I'm not confident, O'Neal would be the first one that pops to mind as having the best shot. And as my other outside the box prediction is that Jay Patel will become a manager in the WWE for a heel. So there you go.
I have it here right now. The 2026 all-season dates. The all-season workouts will begin for OTAs for Washington Commanders May 27th to the 29th. That's the first session. Second session June 2nd to June 4th, and then June 9th to June 11th. Mandatory minicamp June 16th to June 18th.
When's the scrapping day? When are 30 people getting cut?
I'm not currently seeing anything on that right now, but I think it's typically a week after going into training camp, because training camp starts in July.
Because I remember last year, it surprised the heck out of me that Holland Pierce got cut from the Eagles. I thought he was the most NFL-ready prospect out of all of our guys, and it turned out Monangai was.
It's just what he brings to certain teams. Certain teams just have an idea of what they want to do, and a lot of the times they might have a lot of players already over because there's still free agency still going on. There's still a lot of available free agents at all positions, and June 1st is when a lot of the roster moves are going to be made because that's when new cap space is available, and a lot of these teams want to make trades.
Yeah, I mean, look, the NFL draft is kind of analogous to dating. Every team has a different personality, and what really matters a lot is the fit and the chemistry between a player and that team. And that's where I think O'Neal and the Lions have great chemistry, and we'll see.
You have a lot of romantic comparisons. Is it just because you're in love with the game?
No, it's because love is mysterious. It's mysterious, and it's a huge investment. That's where I'm getting, because a lot of these GMs, they're investing right now. That's why the idea of best pick available is a thing. A lot of these teams don't go off of needs. They go off of what can help us win in the short term while still being able to be successful in the long term.
Yeah, and speaking of chemistry, Donovan, will you announce tonight on this show that you have arranged a one-on-one interview with Ducks star Trevor Bauer?
I'm going to have to keep on working on that. I talked to the Vice President of Communications, Michael Polak, not so long ago, right after we left for Media Day. And we still have season passes. We want to be able to talk to him at least one more time before school lets out, because I know he has a couple more starts. And it's his first time being back in the U.S. That's why I don't want to really push the envelope. He hasn't been able to play baseball here in over 5 years, especially since when everything went down in 2021. And he wants to be around his family. He talked about that a lot during the presser that he had, the reason why he's the happiest the most is that his family can see him play again. And
he threw no hitter, so good for him. And we'll see how that goes. But he did a great job on that.
Wishing him the best, and if we're able to get in contact with him, it'll be great. But like I know right now, he just wants to be around his family, and I know he just wants to continue making content.
I got one more thing here. So we talked about the draft for almost an hour, and right before we came on, I would say maybe 3 hours ago, maybe 4 hours ago now, since we've been on air for almost an hour, we had some news come out about the NCAA tampering rules proposal. And this is very interesting. The proposal is that if a coach is caught tampering, they're facing suspensions for up to half of the season. 20% of the athletic department is possibly fined, and roster spot reductions. And the craziest thing about this proposal to me is the fact that once suspected, you are guilty until proven innocent. You have to prove that you didn't tamper instead of being proven that you did. So
I think I understand what this rule is. This is starting to sound like parentheses, the Lane Kiffin rule, close parentheses.
It really could be. And so this is going to be heavily contested in court. And I think that guilty until proven innocent, that's not the terminology they use. The terminology they use is it's a proof of not tampering. I have a thing here from DC that says, how does one prove tampering did not occur? And so I don't know how you would defend that in court.
That is ridiculous, because what it does is it gives the NCAA sole power subjectively to deem someone guilty without sufficient evidence of that guilt and place the burden on them. That is antithetical to any system of justice, and it will not hold up.
Basically, they're deciding they're the judicial branch.
I want to see how fair they enforce this rule, because the thing is, if they do that, all hundreds of coaches will be fired in the FBS level, especially in the Power 4 level, because that's what they do. A lot of the time, when a lot of these coaches move, they bring players alongside with them. Kirk Signetti just did this and won a championship off that method. Lane Kiffin was currently doing that in season while the team that he just left was fighting for a championship spot.
Lane Kiffin, Matt Campbell, James Franklin, but James Franklin was actually contractually not doing anything wrong because obviously he got terminated. But Matt Campbell, Iowa State to Penn State, I believe he brought over 18 people with him.
A lot of this is going to turn on what is the definition of tampering, how broad is it in scope.
I think you just can't even talk.
When Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma not so long ago, he brought with him a Heisman winner and Caleb Williams. So that's where is this going to be a rule that's enforced on smaller schools that are trying to keep their players or trying to talk to student athletes before the bigger schools get in contact with them? Because I have the rule right here. It says staff cannot communicate directly or indirectly with a student athlete or their representative, parents, coaches, or agents before athlete is in the portal. We just saw the entire portal have people go to certain schools just based off of that. That's where I'm kind of confused.
What does it mean to communicate with someone? If you wish someone a happy birthday, if you see someone on the street and you say, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" I mean, there's a problem with the vagueness of it, and NCAA has got a problem with selective enforcement as a whole. This is typical NCAA garbage, which is they announce these vague rules that are subjectively enforced, and it invites more litigation and it invites more confusion, and that is going to be the problem here, and that's why you're going to have inconsistent enforcement, because no one's going to know exactly what it means, exactly what's prohibited, and the NCAA itself doesn't know.
It's going to be exactly like when NIL first got legalized, so to say,
right,
in college football, which is you let something go, you have something go from completely banned to completely unbanned, and it's going to be the wild, wild west.
Yep.
Yeah, and it already is. And the thing is, that's why they're trying to shut down the transfer portal a little bit to force more regulation. But the thing is now, it's starting to become a situation where coaches might not even use the transfer portal because it's just too risky.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I think that the rule creates a lot more problems than it solves.
And the thing is, the rule is going to bring more leverage back to the people that originally had it. For the last 3 years, all the leverage was with the players. The players had all of the freedom to move wherever they wanted to move with no repercussions, and they were able to get as many years as they wanted to do, regardless of it. A lot of these organizations, a lot of these coaches, a lot of these executives as well, in regards to athletic directors and stuff of that nature, they don't like that. They don't want that leverage to not be in their hands because it kind of makes these institutions not as valuable as a lot of these people say they are. For the last couple of years, the question has been, is it the school that makes the players or is it the players that make the schools?
I just don't know how you prove that you didn't tamper.
That's going to be hard.
And what is?
I mean, off the top of my head, the only thing you could do is screen record you reaching out for the first time.
And
this is going to scare away coaches for going into the transfer portal. That's what I think this rule is going to do.
Yes, it has a chilling effect, which is a problem, and it's also a problem because what state of mind is required to be responsible for tampering? Do you have to intentionally do it? What if you negligently do it? Well,
negligent, I think that would still be enforced.
Well, but there's different degrees then of severity, and how are you going to apportion penalties based on that? It seems like the NCAA adopted a rule without thinking it through.
Well, this is just a proposal. This isn't a change yet. So there will be contests, there will be court proceedings, and there will be amendments ultimately.
All right. Well, good discussion, guys. Very good.
I just hope this ends up well for the players at the end of the day, because right now, from what we've seen, August 1st, this upcoming season going into next year, I'm really going to be locked and loaded, just focusing on how player movement is, and especially when it comes to the transfer portal. 2027 is going to be a new age of college football.
There will not be any more Trinidad Chamblissies.
Yeah, and my final thought is I would like to congratulate the New York Knicks on defeating the Atlanta Hawks in the playoffs, because the victory in Game 4 was the equivalent of putting the nail in the coffin.
Dude, we tied the series up. We tied the series up.
We have home field advantage over for Atlanta. It's over.
I would love to agree with you, but unfortunately, man, I can never tell with these Knicks.
Well, we'll see. You guys have any final thoughts?
Oh, my final thought is we didn't even mention this, but thank you to everyone that donated. Rutgers Athletics gained $2.8 million in funding, because $1 million was matched and $1.8 million was donated. So that little bit helps it set a record. So, if anyone in this chat donated, thank you.
My final thing is congrats to all the Rutgers players that were able to make rosters. You're a part of whether people might say, hey, he's a UDFA, or no, he didn't get drafted, this, that, and the third. You're a part of a small percentage of people that were able to accomplish a dream that a lot of football players wish they could do. Just remember that at the end of the day, you're going to be able to go inside of these facilities, work with these coaches, work with these staff, and be able to live out your dream, whether it is a dream that you're able to turn into a long career, something that gets past the second contract, or if it ends up you get cut, because that's how that world is. It's very cutthroat. Just appreciate it and enjoy it, because you're able to do something that a lot of people wish they could do and would trade with you in a heartbeat to do.
Yeah, and on that note, congratulations to Athan Kaliakmanis. Athan, you were a great player for Rutgers. You earned it. And I think I speak on behalf of everyone here that we wish you the best. So we end yet another Rutgers show number 89, as we march towards show 100 and to the exciting 2026 season. We will be here every Monday at 7 p.m. to discuss Rutgers football and any breaking news. Until next Monday, as always, go Scarlet Knights.
Go Scarlet Knights.